Okay, and we are live. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. As always, my name is Deck, and here with me is my good friend Daniel Finn. You may know him from my other channel of DC Central. He's a common co-host of mine on Honor Thy podcast. But he's also quite a big fan of another show, which I am also a huge fan of, which is The Walking Dead. And I thought today we should bring back a show that I introduced a while ago. It's been dead for a while. But now seems like a good of a time as any to bring it back. And that is Discussing Dead, and in a new format. Given the fact that I did one of these live streams quite recently with you and Moorfield about the PlayStation 5 and a bunch of gaming stuff, I thought, why not do it again? I thought it was quite good. I thought it was quite good fun. So I thought, let's do it again this time for Discussing Dead. And as we bring it back and we talk about everything to do with The Walking Dead on this live stream, whether it's the season 10 finale, which we finally received over the last couple of days, as well as the season premiere of the new spin-off World Beyond, as well as discussions about just news and general things to do with the Walking Dead universe. But introduce yourself, Dan, as obviously, in fact, you were on my spoiler talk for Defending Jacob.
Yeah, we did that as well. That was really good fun. But yeah, usually I'm called Shotgun Dan on our podcast, but I've gone with a more appropriate name as we are talking about The Walking Dead today. And I've got little Daryl here. He's got a crossbow. So today I am Crossbow Dan.
Yeah,
thanks for having me on, mate.
Yeah, the name changes every single time for every single podcast. But yeah, you're welcome. And of course, always welcome anytime. So as I said just now, what we're going to do is we're just going to go through everything to do with The Walking Dead recently, which is we're going to review and say our thoughts on the season 10 finale. Not really finale because we've got 6 more episodes, but it's the finale, but whatever. Yeah. That most recent episode, and also the series premiere of The Walking Dead World Beyond, which is the 3rd spin-off of the series, or well, the 2nd spin-off of the series, as well as just some other news in regards to the future of the show, because there's a lot to talk about. So let's kick off with the news, which I firstly want to talk about the sort of the future of the show that was recently spoken about by Angela Kang, who's the showrunner of the series. She was talking about how the series is going to end. And very shockingly, the series was announced to end in season 11, which I have to say came as a big shock to me. I really didn't expect that. And it's kind of been confirmed how they're doing it, which obviously we kind of found out a while ago about these 6 additional episodes we're getting for season 10 and how they're going to be sort of brought in. But it seems like essentially what they're doing is they are taking these last little 6 episodes that we're getting for season 10 and then an extended season 11 to essentially make what would be 2 seasons of the show. So how do you feel about it ending in season 11?
Actually, from having read all the comics now, like I'm completely done with all the Walking Dead comics. I've read all 4 compendiums, and I hadn't finished it when the news was announced that it was ending. But having finished it now, it kind of makes sense because I don't know if it's not like spoilers, but obviously with the finale of the Commonwealth, it kind of wraps the story. That is the last story of the compendium.
Yes, the story. So, it's the last story arc of the comics.
With us finally getting so with us getting the Commonwealth now in the TV show, it kind of does make sense to wrap it up. I mean, it's sad that it's ending, but no, it kind of makes sense, to be honest, now that I've finished the comics. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I also, saying what you're saying, because even though I've not read the comics really at all, I do sort of have a lot of knowledge of the comics, and I knew that the Commonwealth was the final arc of the comics. So when the Commonwealth arc was approaching, sort of at the end of this season, I knew that was going to be going into season 11. I just suspected, given how big the show was and how big it still is, even though the ratings have dropped significantly over the years for The Walking Dead, it's still huge in comparison to a lot of shows out there. I felt like, especially with what Scott Gimple was saying, he was sort of talking as if the show was going to carry on past that. He was talking about maybe getting to season 15, season 16. And I genuinely believe the show was going to go with there. And I thought it was going to sort of tail off in its own direction and just move away from the comics and do its own thing. But to wrap up the main series with season 11, it does make sense. And I quite like the fact that they're following the comics in that way. Obviously, they are going to have to change things up because the show can't end in the same way the comics did, unless they do bring Rick back to the show, which I don't know if they do it. I mean, I always said to myself,
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I always said to myself that I thought Rick would come back for the final season, whenever that may be. But given how soon that final season is now, I don't know if that's true. I don't think that'll happen. So the ending will be different. How different is something we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it does make sense, really, when you think about it. And I think given the announcement we got along with that news, it kind of confirms what I was thinking, but they're doing it in a slightly different way. But we'll talk about that Earth spin-off later. But it's definitely interesting news. And I think that the way they're doing it, obviously we're getting these 6 additional episodes for season 10, which are essentially going to act as a bridge between season 10 and season 11. And then we're getting an extended season 11 as well, which is just going to give us a little bit more Walking Dead before it goes off air forever. It's very sad. I mean, The Walking Dead, I've had my ups and downs with it as a show. I almost stopped watching it at one point, particularly during season 8. I just was really struggling back then with that season. But it is one of my favorite shows of all time. Like, if I was to do a top 10, it would definitely be in there. And to see it end, it's definitely really sad. I mean, also, like, me and you are also both, we're big fans of Arrow. We've just had that end recently, and now we're getting The Walking Dead end as well. So it's a very sad time.
Yeah.
So
there's not going to be anything for us to watch soon.
No, they're just all the shows are ending. But I mean, The Walking Dead is kind of continuing, but we'll carry on with that eventually. So yeah, I mean, I think it's quite smart the way they're doing it, because it is actually the way they are structuring it is that with the extended episodes and with the extended season 11, it's going to be what would be the length of 2 seasons of The Walking Dead. It's like 2 lots of 16 episodes. So we are essentially getting 2 more seasons in a traditional sense.
It's just all 6 together. Episodes, and then the next season 11 is 24 episodes, I believe.
Yeah. So it just about makes up what would be season 12 anyway. And I think that's really cool. And I was curious. I remember when they announced it.
I'm just hoping the 6 additional episodes aren't filler. Yeah, hopefully they're still good.
I mean, I don't think they will be. I thought when they first announced them, maybe they would be, but given the announcement of the end, I think that they are going to be sort of like a gap. They're going to be like a bridge to get us to season 11 and stuff like that. Because I mean, the season 10 finale, again, we'll talk about it in a second, but it does end with a lot of threads hanging. So there's a lot of stuff to just instantly pick up. And I think it will do that. Because I remember when they announced the end, I thought to myself, because I remember going into season 10, I think it was announced, or maybe even going into season 9, it was announced that Melissa McBride and Norman Reedus both had signed new contracts. And I remember that contract would have taken them up to season 12. But now with these extended episodes, I guess that would balance out that contract deal. Because I remember thinking to myself, have they been screwed out of their contract? But I guess technically they haven't. And those 2 are obviously going off to do other things elsewhere anyway, once the show ends. So they're very much okay. But very interesting news, very sad news, and definitely not what I expected for sure. So I guess we can just move on and talk about the finale, the long-awaited season finale. It was so close to being done. It was so close to being done. And then, unfortunately, COVID happened and they couldn't finish the post-production. And I mean, watching this episode, you can see the post-production behind it. Like, this was a big episode with a lot of scale. And you can tell the post-production was a big part of it. So it's understandable why we didn't get it back in April when we were meant to get it. Because this was a big episode. But, I mean, I guess we could start off by talking about general thoughts. What were your general feelings on this episode?
I'm going to put it out there. Slightly underwhelmed.
Okay.
With it. Just because it did take so long for us to finally get it. Yeah. And then I just feel the main thing that really bugged me and it kind of took me out of the episode was the whole thing of that spin-off with Daryl and Carol being announced before this episode. it now just like Carol and Daryl are now in it to the end now. They're not gonna die in the series because they've now got the spin-off. So straight away, like the scene with Carol on the cliff, like it just didn't give you that emotion that you would have got if that spin-off wasn't there. Because it was just like, oh well, she's not gonna do it now, is she? Like
yes, exactly.
So
I mean, when I was watching that scene, I was like, I had the exact same reaction. I was watching it, and I was like, and it's such a shame because that was a great scene.
It's a really powerful scene.
It was a powerful scene. It was beautifully shot. It was lovely, and
it was really good.
And to be honest, had that spin-off not been announced, I genuinely would have thought, given Carol's story this season, I genuinely would have felt, okay, she could die here. Like that, there was actually a chance that it would have made sense for Carol to die there had that not been announced. But because it was there, I was just sat there like, well, it's not going to happen, is it? Something's going to happen.
Yeah,
she's not going to jump. Like, so it was so annoying. And again, with Daryl, I mean, Daryl is a character I've always thought would survive to the end anyway, because he's basically like the fan favorite. But still, it still takes away any threat that we're ever going to have with Daryl because he's not. He's going to be safe. And same with Carol. So I totally agree with that. I did have that noted down.
Yeah. So like, with obviously that happening, they must have known when they announced this spin-off that, like, why did they announce the spin-off before the finale had aired?
Yeah.
I don't get it. So yeah, I was just watching that scene, and part of me thought maybe she might fall off the cliff and land into the water below and then not come back till one of the episodes next season. But no, I was just like, oh yeah, she's just not going to do it anymore. Yeah.
It was such a shame because it was such a great scene, and then it was just, but all the tension was completely undercut.
Was just completely, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it was nice though, because we did have a nice moment after it with her and Lydia. I quite like that relationship beginning to form now, that sort of mother and daughter relationship.
Yeah.
It's quite nice. It's quite sweet. And I wonder what future Lydia has on the show. I wonder if she might go off with Carol and Daryl in the spinoff. I'm curious to see if that might happen. If they sign Cassidy McClincy up with another contract, I don't know. But yeah, it was a great scene. It just unfortunately was undercut by that news completely.
I mean, like, does adoption still is that still around in this apocalyptic world? Could Daryl and Carol adopt Lydia as their own?
I mean, I'm sure they could. I mean, I think she'd be up for it. I think Lydia is very much up for it. But I mean, on the contrary to you though, I wasn't underwhelmed by this. I don't know if it's because maybe my expectations weren't as high, or I don't know, but because I've seen a lot of reactions of people saying it's underwhelming, and I think it's because this episode was so heavily built up to, and there was a lot sort of riding on this episode in regards to the stakes. But I thought this episode was kind of fire, and I kind of think it's one of the it might be one of my favorite finales actually. For The Walking Dead, because instantly I kind of got chills from the beginning. Like the scene with Gabriel as he's giving that speech to those two kids was really, really great. I think Seth Gillen did a really good job with that.
That was really good.
And I started to get chills with that, like the way he sort of talked about all the forces coming together and combining. I thought that was really powerful. And then you start to hear, like, you kind of cut down to the bottom, you see Beta with the huge horde. Like, that horde was insane. We've been seeing that horde for a while. It's been building up. Obviously, we saw it last season when Alpha showed it to Daryl. We've been waiting for this sort of attack with this horde, and the scale of it was immense. Like, it was just on another. This is like the biggest horde we've ever seen. It was
it was ridiculous.
But we cut down to that. We see Beta in the middle of it, and then the theme strikes up, and that was when I was like, "Oh, I've missed this show."
Same. Just as soon as you could hear the theme coming in, I've always liked this with the Walking Dead episodes. That theme, it just gets me. It's so good.
Yeah.
And I was just really hyped from seeing so many trailers for this episode. And then was literally it was that announcement. It was once the spin-off came and I got announced. I was still really hyped for this finale, but it just took out of it where I was like, honestly, like you see on Twitter, people are like, oh, if Daryl dies, we riot. But that he's not gonna die anymore. And
he's not going to
a thing. It's
Unless Carol so like him in the crowd, Daryl dies, becomes a zombie, and she starts palling around with him, just attaches him on a leash and.
Oh, she could do that. or just carries around his head like Beta did with Alpha's head.
Just
That was
skins
really
half
weird.
his head off. Oh, Beta.
I mean, I'd love to wear Norman Reedus's hair. It would be awesome.
To be fair, yeah.
So I'd do that. Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, I think, well, as I mentioned earlier, like when it comes to the special effects for this episode and all the post-production stuff, like you can see with the production quality of this episode, the scale of the horde and everything, like it needed that extra attention. And because this was a big thing to pull off. I mean, The Walking Dead has always been known for doing incredible things with its extras and these big hordes of walkers and stuff, but this is the biggest. We've never seen it on this scale. It was on another level, and it was so well handled. It was kind of like another version of No Way Out from season 6, but on like a much bigger scale. And it was very, very well done. It was very intense. I liked it a lot. The only thing I found a bit weird in it was that apart from Kelly, who was wearing a walker mask, everyone else just had their faces exposed, which was really strange given the fact they knew Whisperers were in that crowd. I was like, aren't you meant to be hiding from these people as well as trying to escape? Like, you're not doing a good job of that. But yeah,
maybe it was just not being comfortable wearing someone's skin or something, I guess.
I mean, fair dues.
It is a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, it is very strange.
But yeah, it was very, very well done.
Yeah,
so we also
the art department.
Yeah. Now, one sort of negative I do have with this episode, which I sort of did find underwhelming in a weird way, is that there wasn't really many deaths. I was expecting a bit more, and because the only real death we got outside of Beta, who we all kind of expected to die, was a character called Beatrice, who
I didn't even remember her name.
No, I mean she's
died, and I just went
from Oceanside, which nobody remembers Oceanside anymore. No one knows any of those characters anymore. She dies, and I was like, okay, even Carol didn't care. Like, nobody cared.
Exactly.
So I was kind of sad by the lack of deaths, especially because I was convinced that Gabriel was going to die in this episode.
Well,
I thought he was going to, and not even like, 'cause I thought he was going to die going into the episode. Like, I've always thought, not even just like the scene, because they give him a death scene, which he. I mean, when that scene happened, I didn't think he was going to, because of the way it was done, like the way the music flared up and stuff. I was like, he's fine.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Maggie to come in, but still.
I wasn't expecting Maggie to save him.
Yeah, but I was like, Gabriel's fine. So yeah, the lack of deaths was a bit annoying for me. And like I said, the fact that we only got one, which was just a random character from Oceanside, I was like, eh.
Yeah. And again, like from the comics, Gabriel was meant to die in this Whisperer War. He's basically in a tower, and he's on a ladder, and I think as he falls, he gets like stuck, and Beta literally just says, "I'll save you," and slits his throat. So even when you were saying, like, I talked to you a couple of weeks back about who you thought might die, and you said Gabriel, and I was like, okay. And then I was kind of maybe thinking that maybe they won't give it to Gabriel, but might give it to someone else. But yeah, there was just a lack of deaths as well. For like the size of the horde, we just didn't lose anyone of sort of any real value. And I think it's going down that thing, like this would have been written before the spin-offs or whatever, but in that there's so many fan favorites, I feel like they're scared to kill people off now because of like fan hate. They just don't want to do it, and that's why they do just kill off these Oceansiders who I said I didn't even know her name. She's gone. I don't know who she was.
It's like they just said her name, and I was like, okay.
Okay,
Carol didn't care. Like she was like, oh, Carol, take my thing, and she was like, no.
I'm pretty sure, if I was in Carol's position then, I would have just gone, what? Who?
Yeah, who are you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of my sort of major negatives of this. It just kind of felt like such a big threat and such a big horde. There wasn't really much impact. It was just kind of like, everyone came out okay. I was like, I mean, I was happy because I'm not saying I want people to die, but I also do kind of want people to die. But my next point is something I sort of just mentioned, which is that we knew about this going into the episode, but Maggie returns in this episode.
She does, yes.
She's been gone for a little while. Obviously, the actress Lauren Cohen went off to do a movie and also a TV series, which unfortunately got cancelled after one season. But she's now back as Maggie, and we got to see her here. We got her right at the beginning of the episode, sort of reading the note that was left for her, which kind of just fills her in on everything, which was really nice because we didn't have to get a big exposition scene. She already knows. And then, and then she comes in and saves Gabriel, which was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. Like, Maggie has been one of my favorite characters since like the early days, and she is just so badass. Lauren Cohan as well is just such a good actor in so many things I've seen. So it's always great to see her back on screen. And obviously now with the final season announced, it's good that we're getting some of those old characters come back, because you can imagine if we didn't get Maggie back for the final season, there would have been something missing. Like, we're not going to have Rick, or I don't think we're going to have Rick, but it's nice to have Maggie back at least.
Yeah. And I think that she had a really nice role in this because she wasn't in it too much, but she came in and she had these big sort of impactful moments, especially at the end. She had like a reunion with everybody, and that was really, really nice. And like, she looks a bit different as well, which was cool. Sort of has a different sort of hair look to her, which was really nice. And I'm excited to see what she's going to do, especially because obviously Negan is out. So I'm very excited to see what her reaction is to that. Because I think that
is going to happen.
Well, I don't think she's going to be happy about it.
I think there's most definitely, we're going to get one of those classic, she's going to see him and she's going to just launch him with a punch to his face.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some heated arguments between them two.
Yeah, I can definitely see there's going to be a lot of conflict there, especially because she's going to have to sort of work with him probably at some point, and she's going to definitely have a few words with Daryl about that. Because even up until this episode, really, like, Daryl was just not with Negan at all. It's only really this episode where I think Daryl actually started to see a change in him, maybe. Daryl was always very reluctant to that, and he was kind of just tried to avoid Negan, didn't even want to look in his direction, didn't want to even think about him sort of going on a redemption or anything like that, despite all the things he's done. But it was like this episode was finally the one where he actually saw that maybe Negan is a bit different now. So he might actually have to be put into the position to defend him against Maggie at some point in season 11. But Maggie came with a very interesting new character, this masked sort of ninja dude. I don't know who that is. It's this mystery character. He's wearing a mask. He is a he. They do say he, so it is a guy. There's a lot of theories online about who it could be. I've seen a lot of.
I haven't seen any of them.
There's been quite a lot, and I don't know if you want me to say any of them, just in case it is any of them.
yeah, sure. No, go on, because I mean, this guy isn't in the comic, so I don't even know who it is. So
yeah,
it's quite interesting.
The main theory I've seen, I mean, there are a lot of people thinking it could be Morgan or Dwight coming back from Fear over to the main show, which I don't really know if I see that. The more popular theory I've seen, which I really like, is that this is actually Morgan's son.
I think I might have seen that one.
I mean, I don't know how that would necessarily work in regards to how he knows Maggie and how they necessarily met. I mean, I imagine that I'm pretty sure Angela Kang has said that we are going to get an episode sort of in one of these 6 extended episodes that's going to sort of focus purely on Maggie and where she's been and what she's been up to, which will obviously, I'm assuming that'll explain how she met this guy, whoever it ends up being. But I mean, I don't know if it is Morgan's son. I think that'd be interesting, but I don't know if they'd do it. Because Angela Kang has said one character who it's not, because there was a theory going around that it's Mercer. But it's actually, she said it's not Mercer. I mean, to be honest, I actually think this could be an original character. But then I also think, why are they obscuring the face? Why would they hide the face if he isn't someone we'd know?
True. Yeah.
But maybe that's just my CW logic getting into my head. So I don't know. Do you have any theories?
I mean, I definitely obviously you don't really watch Fear the Walking Dead anymore, but I can probably say that it's not Morgan given like the trailer for the next season and the end of the last season of that, Morgan's in a little bit of a state.
Yeah.
In that I don't think it's probably Morgan. I mean, we could probably rule out that it's not Glenn, it's not Abraham.
Yeah, I mean, The Walking Dead isn't really a show who brings characters back from the dead, so
yeah, exactly. Mercer is he's a Commonwealth. He's like a leader in like the Commonwealth sort of army, like military that they have. So I don't think it would be him.
Yeah, I don't know where that theory came from, because when I heard it, I was like, why would it be like, we're literally about to get to the Commonwealth arc? Why would they introduce him like that? Like, that's really weird.
And he's like a military guy. He doesn't wear like a random tattered cloak and a mask. Like you'll see him next season hopefully, and his armor is like different to the Commonwealth's. I think his in the comic is on the front of it is like red rather than the white and red. Like he's got his own armor because he's Mercer and he's just this big badass. But
to be fair, he's a character I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, same. I am. I reckon, Morgan's son could be very interesting, but without Morgan on The Walking Dead, it's like doesn't really make sense because you can't really have that reunion type thing. So I don't know. I'm quite interested.
I mean, do we think Morgan would come back to The Walking Dead before the end of the show? I mean, again, obviously you're saying there's something going on with him in Fear. I mean, I've seen pictures of him. He definitely doesn't look okay.
Yeah. Or if it could be Dwight, could be cool. But I feel like because in Fear now, Dwight's kind of met up, or he's going to meet up with Sherry, his wife. So I think they could end off like going off in their own separate ways. I don't think it's Dwight, because for him to then randomly be back with Maggie and in this badass mode feels like something has happened to him again. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like Dwight probably deserves to have his happy ending and stuff like that.
I think it'd be weird if it was Dwight as well, like coming back into the main show, especially like following season 8. It would kind of be weird for him to come back and then almost try and socialize with the group. It'd be really weird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe it's just this original character who hasn't even revealed his face to Maggie. I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be quite interesting if it is this silent character who she doesn't even know he is. She just knows that he might have saved her down the line or something, and she's just been with this person.
And I just want to say hello to Ewan, who's joining us in the stream right now. So my next point is going back to deaths, we did actually get the death of Beta in this episode. What a phenomenal death scene, in my opinion. I will say I would have liked to have had a bit more of a fight. I think it was over very quickly. The fight
was exactly.
But the death itself was spectacular.
It was really cool.
I mean, I just love it. Like, I love the fact that Negan goes up to him, tries and kind of messes with him for a minute, and then tries to fight him, and then Beta just slams him to the ground. Like, he just has no chance. And that's where we actually get to see Daryl come in and save Negan, which I thought was really cool. And he literally just stabs him right in the eyes. It was a fantastic death scene. And the way that, I mean, this just shows how insanely messed up the Whisperers and particularly Beta is, as he just accepts it. Like, he loves it. He actually feels like the walkers, as they eat him, is just like, he's loving it. It's like he's seeing this love and attention. It was insane. Like, Beta is a weird dude. I mean, we saw that ever since he's been introduced, and the minute I knew Beta was completely gone was when he skinned off Alpha's face and just started wearing half of it. But seeing this, just accepting, like, he was literally smiling as he was dying. It was almost like Joker-esque. Like, he was like smiling as he was dying. It was insane.
It was so creepy.
Yeah, it was really creepy, and we actually got to see his face, which was really cool. I thought that was really interesting because I was wondering, would we ever see his face? And because he never took off his mask, even to Alpha, never took off his mask, and we finally got to see his face. And I love Negan's reaction to it. Like, I love the fact that Negan recognized who it was, Because obviously we found out earlier in the season that he was this like country singer, rock star kind of character.
Yeah.
Before the world fell, and Negan was like I can imagine Negan just sort of like looking back on his life and being like, I literally owned albums from this guy, and now I'm just watching him like eaten alive. It's bizarre. And like I like the fact that Daryl just didn't have time for it.
Yeah, like could you imagine if like, because if Negan was this big fan of this country singer before, could you imagine if like someone we knew as well, like imagine it was say Stephen Amell under that mask, and we'd just be like,
yeah,
wait, did you know who that was? Like what? I went to cons and stuff and saw him, and
yeah, I think it's a cool idea to have like, because we've never really had that on The Walking Dead, like having like a character who was like a villain who was like famous, like an actual famous person. I think that's such an interesting concept. So I really liked his death scene. I thought it was so well handled, and it just further like cemented how mental Beta was. And again, seeing that sort of team up of Negan and Daryl, because I was thinking who's going to kill Beta, and I thought it might have been Negan, and my bets were on Daryl, but it was kind of like a tag team, which I thought was really cool. Except Negan was very much bait, but it was very, very good.
Daryl obviously had that fight with Beta earlier on in the season,
9,
so it felt kind of like he got his justice and beat him. Yeah,
it's really cool.
But so, it was quite. It was weird that they made him a musician in the TV show, because in the comics he's actually like a famous baseball player. Which
so they changed it.
That would have been more ironic to Negan. Yeah, it would have been quite ironic to Negan, because obviously with the baseball bat, he could have been like, "Wait, what was my like favorite star pitcher or something?" Yeah, I mean, it was cool that they still gave him that background. So
yeah. And we've just got a question here from Ewan, who's asking, I came across World Beyond on Amazon yesterday. Do you think it's necessary to watch the main series in order to watch World Beyond? Obviously, we haven't talked about World Beyond yet. We will get to that in a bit. But I mean,
we'll answer that question once we get to that bit, because I've got a little bit to say on that. but
just a quick thing, just in case you're not going to stick around, Ewan. I'd say no. I don't think you do. But again, it's only one episode right now, so we don't know to what extent it's going to connect into the larger universe. I mean, I think that there is. I'll talk about this in a bit, but I do think that World Beyond does have a place in the universe, and I think there is going to be a thing with it. But as of right now, based on the first episode, which I've literally just watched, there wasn't really anything to connect it. So I'd say you're good for now.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So my next thing was Carol and the Horde, which we've already spoken about. Maggie's reunion. So Maggie's reunion was really nice. I did like seeing that. That was really cool. So sort of after that, and after Carol was sort of saved by Lydia, we get this scene which basically, I mean, I viewed this as them setting up the spin-off with Daryl and Carol. They kind of had this moment.
They talk about New Mexico.
They talk about New Mexico, which I'm pretty sure is confirmed that is where it's set. So I kind of took that. I mean, it was kind of nice because I do enjoy these moments with Daryl and Carol, especially these more like tender moments when they get to kind of just be just together, just those two. And they do talk about it, and they're sort of saying, we have things to do, i.e. we have season 11, but after that we will go and we can go to New Mexico. So I wonder how long this spin-off has been in development for, and I wonder how long they've had the idea for, because this to me very much felt like it was sort of doing a wink to that.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I have my thoughts on the spin-off, but obviously we get to that as well a little bit later as well. And I just want to say, in that sort of reunion bit, is the reunion with Judith and Maggie really got me.
Yeah,
that great. Was so cute. And like they didn't even need to speak to each other, because they just knew sort of who they were, type thing. And it was really great. It
must have been insane for Maggie, like seeing Judith all grown up like that, especially wearing Rick's hat and having his gun and stuff.
It was great.
Probably the biggest surprise for me in this episode, though, and I was so happy to see this, is Connie is alive. I was so happy. I love Connie so much. She's one of the biggest standout characters for me at the moment. And obviously, she's been gone for a while because she has been cast in the Eternals for Marvel. So she's kind of been not being able. That's why she's not been. That's why this like storyline.
Right.
That's why this whole storyline has come about her being lost, is because she just wasn't there to film. But
Yeah,
like when the shot comes up of like this hand, I was like, "What the hell's this?" And then I was like, "Oh my god, it's Connie!" I was so excited, and she looks like, I mean, she looks bad. Like she looks in a bad way, and she's actually picked up by Virgil, who we last saw in Michonne's last episode. So
yeah, that's where he's from as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember him now.
So I'm interested to see how that's going to tie in, because I have to be fair, I didn't expect Connie to be in this episode, and I also didn't expect her and Virgil to kind of meet up. That's not what I thought. That's not how I thought that was going to go. So I'm very interested to see where they're going to go, like, because Virgil picks her up. So where are they off to now? I'm very interested to see if he's heading back, especially because Virgil's a very interesting character now because he knows that Rick is alive. So, I mean, he doesn't know who Rick is really, but he knows he's alive, and he knows that's where Michonne went. And I can see, and obviously Judith knows as well. So I don't know, like I don't know what that's going to mean for other characters, like, because I can tell that I can just see Daryl finding out at some point, like fairly soon, and I don't know what kind of reaction Daryl would have to that. So I don't know. Virgil's an interesting player. Like I'm very interested to see what he's going to do in the show.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely interested to see what he brings to the table for next season. Yeah.
And then we sort of had the final scene, which we had a sort of a recurring storyline in this episode, which sort of carries on from the last, where we have Eugene and Ezekiel, Yumiko, and the princess going through to the train yard to meet with Stephanie, and we finally get to see the Commonwealth fully entrenched in their armors.
So awesome.
They looked insane. They looked so good.
Yeah,
I was so like good. Happy with it. Like I was like, they look great. Again, I don't really have much connection to the comics, but I know what they look like, and they look sick in the comics, and they looked so good in live action.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah, the live action looked good. Like, I can't wait. Like next season, you don't know what you're in for, Deck. Like if it goes on the lines of the comics, like some parts of that. It's going to be something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was great because it was kind of this thing. Eugene was giving up pretty much. He was just, I don't think it's going to happen. And this, that, and the other. And just all these lights come on and just all these soldiers come out. It was so awesome.
That last like push of the camera into Eugene's face as he basically like shits himself is just brilliant. And he's just like,
yeah,
it's so yeah, I can't wait.
I just love this, and I love, like, I mentioned this in my review for episode 15, which was the last episode of Discussing Dead I did. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with the princess too. I kind of love her character instantly. I think she's so much fun, and I think she just seems like a really, really awesome character. I can see Dan's joined the chat here.
Yeah, look who it is. Hoss is in the chat.
Hoss has officially joined. He's going to cause a ruckus, probably.
We're talking about Walking Dead, Hoss. I think, like, you don't like that show, do you? Is he going to get triggered in the comments?
Probably. Is he even caught up? I don't even know if he's even up to date anymore. Which is because I get shouting
if it got
at him.
renewed for season 11, he would watch it, I believe. That's what he said to us.
So let us know in the comments, Hoss, where are you up to on The Walking Dead? Because if you're not up to date, get out, because we're talking spoilers. I mean, we're basically at the end now. But I thought it was a great final sort of cliffhanger. It was a great cliffhanger because it gave us enough to chew on. It gave us like a really awesome like fist air punching moment, but it also left us with a lot to kind of get excited about for the next few episodes. So awesome. I'm super excited for this Commonwealth arc just to see exactly how it's going to go, how it's going to play out, and how they're going to wrap up the show.
Oh, wow. He's 2 episodes off. He said he's caught up recently. Nice. What's your thoughts on it then, Hoss? Are you enjoying it?
What's on season 10 so far?
Yeah, let us know. What's he said? I've
already been spoiled by the finale.
Yeah.
Well, that's your own fault. But anyway,
Yeah.
as a score for this, I'm gonna give this episode a 9 out of 10. That's what I'm giving this.
Oof.
Like I say, I've got a couple of I had a couple of like minor issues with it, like say like the death. There wasn't really enough deaths for me, but that's kind of more of a personal thing.
Yeah.
Same with like I wish the fight with Beta was a little bit longer, and also like the lack of stakes with Carol in that scene wasn't great, but I just love this episode. I thought it was so good. I don't know if it's just because having The Walking Dead back was just awesome, but
Yes.
this episode like truly felt like a fantastic finale. I think it's one of my favorite finales, and I loved it. I loved it a lot.
Yeah, I feel like I've got the same sort of things with you as well. I did feel a bit underwhelmed with it, with the whole sort of spin-off being announced beforehand and stuff. But I think I am going to give it a 9 out of 10 as well, just because the whole spectacle of it was just amazing. Like that huge horde is just something we haven't seen. It's really good. Obviously, there is the Carol scene, which was a little bit wasn't as great as it could have been had the spin-off not been announced before this. And then like the lack of deaths as well. Sort of. We've had we've had quite a few deaths in finales, so to not really have one that really got you was like, oh, okay. But
I wonder if it's in fact, just thinking about it, I'm wondering if it's because we technically lost Michonne this season, like a couple episodes ago. I wonder if it was like a thing where it's like, oh, you've already had like you lost pretty much a main character, didn't die, but you lost a main character, so maybe you don't need one. I don't know.
Yeah, true.
Because I kind of relate it back to, because I remember, like, obviously, as I said it before, like, me and you are obviously huge fans of Arrow. I kind of think back to, like, season 7 of Arrow, like, because usually in every season of Arrow, you get, like, a big death. And in season 7, you don't really get one. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I thought, well, you do technically lose Felicity. So maybe that's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think maybe it's a similar thing here. Maybe they're like, okay, well, we lost Michonne this season, so we don't need to. And like I said, we do.
Exactly.
This death was awesome. It's just everyone knew Beta was pretty much going to die in this episode because we all knew that Whisperer arc was going to end
exactly.
here. But yeah, I mean, like I say, it's kind of just more of like it's not really a negative for the episode necessarily. It's just
exactly. Yeah, in terms of the actual episode and watching it, the negatives are more just sort of in the background of what's happened outside of the episode rather than what's happened.
Exactly.
Exactly. So a 9 out of 10 from myself as well. Yeah.
Really, really strong episode. So now we're going to move over and talk about the new Walking Dead spin-off, which is called World Beyond. We finally got the pilot. It debuted directly after this, I believe. And it also debuts on Amazon Prime here in the UK. So, I mean, this has kind of been waiting for a while. Like, kind of like this finale, this premiere did get delayed quite significantly. We've been waiting for it for a while. And I mean, you watched it a couple of days ago. I've just watched it about an hour ago. I'm very, very, I feel very weird about it. I feel very mixed about it. Like, my kind of weird feeling for it is also indirectly a positive about the show because it feels very, very different from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Very different. But at the same time, in a weird way, I really like that it's very different because that's the reason I didn't stick around with Fear, is because Fear I found very boring and very repetitive just because I found it to be the exact same show with characters making the exact same mistakes, going through the exact same storylines as on The Walking Dead. I just found it very boring very quickly, and I dropped it very early on in season 2. I didn't get into it. This felt very different in a lot of different ways. It just tonally, it was different. Visually, it looks different. The characters are much younger.
The characters are very different.
It just felt very, very astray from The Walking Dead, which again, I found very off-putting initially, but then at the same time, I think about it, I'm like, I like the fact they're doing something different.
Same.
So.
Yeah, and the thing as well is it's already been announced that it's only 2 seasons long, and I think it's like 10 episodes, is it, each season? I'm pretty sure. So Whereas I wasn't immediately hooked with the first episode, and usually with a show I'll give it maybe 3 episodes, but given that it is only going to be 2 seasons, I feel like I will probably just watch it. And it does feel like it has this big background to it that is right in the center of the Walking Dead universe.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of need to watch it to keep that.
Yeah.
Because then if something happens in the main show and I'm like, wait, what? I don't know what this is. And it's because something from a spin-off. Yeah. But I did feel a bit weird about it. I don't feel like I can get behind some of the characters, like the main character who we're first shown to. I don't know, didn't really like her character. She just seems a bit like I don't know, there's something weird about her. The one that snuck onto the bus, she was pretty cool. Yeah, there is something weird about this spin-off, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I do feel like the show has a bigger purpose. Because I said earlier, I think that the show does have like a role within the universe, and I think that's based on the fact that it is only 2 seasons. I feel like because they've announced that, it feels like this season or the show has a job to do. In a weird way, it has something to set up and something to do.
Yeah.
So I definitely will probably stick around with it. Like I say, like you, I wasn't hooked by this episode. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but I wasn't instantly hooked by it. I mean, as far as the characters go, I mean, I actually liked a lot of the characters. Actually, we sort of by the end, we sort of have these 4 main characters. It seems, which I thought was pretty cool. I liked the 2 sisters. I liked how sort of idealistically different they were. They kind of seem as good foils for each other. The 2 other guys who are there, we didn't really get much of them. I mean, the big guy seems to have some kind of weird history, which I'm interested to see what that is, because he seems to have something going on.
He's like a future serial killer.
That's exactly what he looks like. Yeah.
He's got this weird vibe to him.
Yeah, he definitely has like major school shooter vibes. But I definitely think he's an interesting one. But I also quite like the idea of the story. Like, they're going after their dad, but they have to like travel to New York. I like the idea of the show to kind of, at least this first season initially, it's just them kind of traveling. I think that's interesting, especially because they seem to be a lot more focused on city landscapes, which is something I always want The Walking Dead to do, is to go more to city environments, which I know is really difficult to do. Like, I know that's why they don't do it.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult thing to do, but it seems like this show is going to focus more on that, which I'm excited for. I wonder if we'll actually see New York in its state in the post-apocalypse world. I think that'd be really cool.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Because that is where they are going, so I think that'd be really awesome. And this does fully introduce the CRM, which I don't know how big of a role the CRM has in Fear. I don't know if they're massively introduced there.
Oh yeah, that's where they're from as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to think when I watched it, they're not in the comics, so I was just like so confused about who this thing is. But yeah, now that I look back, they're in one of the seasons of Fear. That's what it is. Yeah.
So they do have some kind of a role here. And I was interested by the end of them, like by the end of the episode, what they're doing, because they seem to have completely wiped out that town that the episode kind of takes place in. So very mysterious. They're obviously kind of the villains. There's a lot of rumors that the CRM are going to tie in somehow to the Rick films, if they're still happening. So I don't know. That's why I feel like this show has a purpose. Like, I feel like this show is going to tie into something. I don't know if it's the main show, if it's going to be the Rick films. Something's going to tie in with this. And what I think really surprised me about it is the fact it's only 2 seasons, and they've announced that straight away. It makes me feel like it has a purpose. And also, what I want to know, when I was watching it, I was trying to figure out, when does this take place? When in the timeline is this? Because
I don't know.
Is it in line with the main? They say the character of Iris says that they're sort of 10 years in since the world fell. So that doesn't necessarily line up with The Walking Dead.
Would that go to the sort of flash or the jump they had when we saw Judith and the characters of Yumiko and that brought
Yeah.
in? Is it up to that point? I feel like it might be.
But isn't that's after like the 6-year time jump though? I feel like that's 6 years ahead of where it is, I think, potentially. I think this could be like where season 9, this could be like where Rick left. I think that's where it is. I think it's when Rick left. Just before that time jump.
Yeah.
That would make sense to me. So
Hoss is saying he saw the depression in my eyes as soon as Fear the Walking Dead was mentioned. I'm still sticking with that show. It comes back, I believe it's this week or next week. So I'm still going to watch it. Yeah, I'm still going to watch it because I feel like it did have its down seasons and then it has sort of come back up a bit, and I'm kind of looking forward to the new season. I feel it's hard for me to drop it because I like The Walking Dead so much, and having an extra show of that, I just like watching it. It's very much like with the Arrowverse. Like, we're not massive fans of, say, Legends, but we still watch it just because it's there. So
that's why I wanted to watch Fear. And to be honest, like, after getting back into the mood of The Walking Dead again now, I'm kind of like, I thought to myself the other day, I was like, maybe I could go back to Fear. I don't know. I might, but
I'd say if you got the time, then yeah.
Yeah. I'm
can be a
so
bit of a
bored by it.
struggle. It can be a bit of a struggle, but I think it was the 4th season was actually really good. Like, that's the only DVD I've got of it because I was initially streaming it and then I forgot about it and I was like, okay, I need to sort of carry on. And I saw the DVD and just thought, well, this is the only way I'm going to get around to watching it because, so I bought it, really enjoyed that season and then got back into sort of the 5th season, which was still good as well. Like, I like the characters on there. Like, Dwight was a bit underused on Walking Dead and he's more used on Fear now, which is good to see. There's an awesome character, John Dory. He's just amazing. Like, I'd love to see him come onto the main show and see him interact with like Daryl or something. That would be really cool. And then obviously we have Alicia Devon Carey, who as well is just an amazing character or actress, and her character in the show is really cool as well. So I still like the show, to be honest. I don't mind it.
Yeah. I might go back to it at some point. But another thing I sort of had with World Beyond, which made it feel very different, and one thing I loved about it, which this is something I've just gotten used to on The Walking Dead, and I've seen a lot of complaints about this with Fear. I really liked how clean the show looked. It had a really nice, because it had no filter on it. It was just, it's not like Walking Dead where it has this like haze over it, and then Fear, which has had like a different filter each season. This was just clean, and it was really nice to look at. I don't know if that'll change as the show goes on. I kind of hope they keep it because I get it. Like, I get why they do it. I understand that's, they really want to make it feel like perhaps technology. Like technology's not there. I get it, but it kind of makes it like, because I feel like The Walking Dead can be such a beautiful looking show sometimes, and then the haze kind of ruins it. So I really like the clean filter for this. I kind of hope they keep it because and again, it makes it feel different. It makes it feel unique from the main show.
It felt really weird at the beginning, didn't it? Like, with the first few shots where it just didn't feel Walking Dead, and I was like, wait, did I click the right show? I was like, wait, what? They're in like a campus and everything, and I was just a bit like, wait, what is this show? I mean, that's
but interesting about it. It's kind of like the community we see in World Beyond at the beginning. This sort of Portland community is very much sort of like, that's an established community. Like, they have built that, and it's kind of, that's bigger than anything we've seen on The Walking Dead before. It felt like an actual society, and like they actually were living there.
Just you wait.
Well, yeah, we are getting the Commonwealth, but it's kind of the most we've ever seen. I thought that was interesting. The fact we actually kind of saw this society fully living, and it felt like an actual living, breathing town, which I thought was really nice.
Yeah. For me, at the start of it, I thought that that place that they were in was actually going to be, I thought it was the Commonwealth to start with, just because of how well it was set up, and I didn't really know too much about the show, so I didn't know where it was set. But you think that's a set up community? Just wait. Yeah. My only sort of negative with World Beyond so far, and this isn't even a negative because it's not
there yet, but I'm sort of getting vibes that maybe because of how young the characters are, I'm kind of like, is this going to be teen drama-esque?
Yeah.
Which we can't really say much about because we are big CW fans and we watch the Arrowverse, which is kind of like all about that.
But I mean, you just won't get gruesome. I feel like there won't be gruesome deaths. Like, you're not exactly going to see one of these kids get like their arms pulled off or anything. I mean, so
because obviously, like, The Walking Dead is rated 18. Like, what's
yeah? I don't know. That's quite interesting. I have to check that at some point. Yeah. What's Horse saying? Season 3 was amazing. True. But then that's the thing as well that got me with Fear, Dan, is just the amount of like main characters they had, and the writing for some of the main characters and how they off some of the main characters so quickly did annoy me at that show. Like, Fear the Walking Dead has a lot of gripes with me. But then it has some good moments. Yeah. I think it's slowly redeeming itself. I think this season is going to be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't seem to find an age rating for this, but I'll come back to that next time. But
I reckon it probably is a 15. But I reckon it probably is like a 15 or an 18. It's just you'll see many of the gruesome bits with like the older characters coming into the show. Yeah.
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 So, any other thoughts on World Beyond?
No, yeah, we've sort of both said about it. Like, we weren't really hooked from the pilot. Like, I don't think it was particularly like an amazing pilot. It'd be interesting to see your friend Ewan. He hasn't seen any of The Walking Dead. Is that right?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. But yeah, he is planning on watching World Beyond. So, but yeah, he hasn't seen most of it, so it's definitely be interesting to see what he thinks of it. But I mean, what I will say about it is, like I say, even though I wasn't instantly hooked by it, I really like that it's doing something different. So
yeah, exactly. It is something different, something fresh, and I hope that this new creative way that they're trying to tell a story in the Walking Dead universe does work out for them, because it would be I think they've done themselves good in announcing it's 2 seasons already. I think that will get people maybe just to stick with it type thing, whereas it would be quite disappointing if obviously like a Walking Dead show got cancelled because it is such a big franchise for one of their shows.
I feel like it allows them to fully construct a story in their head, and they can fully write that properly. You know, the beginning, middle, and the end.
Yeah. I think it's probably a great reason. Yeah. Yeah.
So Ewan has never seen a single episode of The Walking Dead, but he has played the Telltale.
Well, Ewan, I would say Walking Dead's on Amazon, so get watching. I'd say watch it.
I'd definitely say watch it if you got the time. Obviously, there's quite a lot of seasons now, but yeah, it's a great show. I mean, it does have its up and down. It does have its ups and downs, though, I will say. And don't be put off by the second season. But, yeah, I definitely agree with that. So the last sort of talking point that we want to discuss before we wrap this up is, and we sort of mentioned it multiple times throughout this, but sort of last week there was a third spin-off announced for The Walking Dead, which hasn't got a title yet. The title that's being thrown around is Soulmates, which I think is a really cute title. I don't know if that works though. But it's a spin-off focusing on Daryl and Carol, and both me and you had a lot to say about it. we had a lot of thoughts.
There's also, sorry as well, to add in, there's actually like another spin-off, isn't it? They're actually doing the anthology series.
Oh, there's that
as well. I don't know if you've seen that as well. Yeah. Yeah, which one do you want to talk about?
Which Tales is it's an anthology series which Gimple's doing, which is going to be live action and just standalone anthology episodes for, I guess, different characters. I mean, I don't know I imagine they could get certain characters from the main show and do episodes with them. Like, I've seen a lot of people talk about doing like a Negan episode and stuff like that, which would definitely be cool.
Like, I think with an anthology one, Negan definitely. I'd really want to see one with him because there's 2 comics about him. There's one before his life, before the sort of fallout, I guess, and then there's one like afterwards. So it would be cool just to have like maybe 2 episodes of the before of how Negan became Negan, and then the after of Negan after the whole Walking Dead like story wraps up type thing would be really good. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and perhaps they could even do the Telltale series games. They could have a couple of episodes based on those characters.
That would be cool. Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a cool idea. We'll see if it pans out for them and how well it does. I definitely didn't expect it, but I think it has a lot of potential. Some really cool stories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then we did get the announcement of the Daryl and the Carol spinoff, which is being showrun by Angela Kang, who is the current showrunner of The Walking Dead. And I just didn't get this.
Yeah, I really don't get it. It's.
I'll
let you go first because I may go on for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, given the fact that the show is wrapping up with season 11 and it is wrapping up at the same time as the comics would end with the Commonwealth arc, it makes sense in a way to kind of go off in a different direction with, to carry on the story, but kind of do it as a separate thing. I get it in a certain respect, but I'm also like, but what's the point? Like, you have the 2 lead characters of this new spin-off being Daryl and Carol, who are essentially the leads of the show of The Walking Dead now. And then you have Angela Kang, who's the showrunner of The Walking Dead, moving over to do this. I just kind of think, because my question is, are other characters coming over to the show? Is it just them 2? Because depending on who's coming over, like I say, I could see Lydia coming over. I could see potentially some other characters coming over. What was the point of ending the show? Why don't you just carry it on? And because this show is going to be, because I was talking about how I was very happy with World Beyond and how it felt different. I don't know how this is going to be any different. Like, that's my point with it. Like, how is this going to be any different from the main show? And therefore, what was the point of creating a new spin-off series with the 2 characters who are essentially the lead characters anyway of the main show? I just don't understand it. And it's very bizarre to me. It's very, very bizarre to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it's going to be like sort of a road trippy show where they might be in different towns like each episode type thing. I don't know who's going to come over from this main show. Also, Daryl and Carol, they're not characters from... Oh, Carol is, sorry. Daryl's not a character in the comics, so it feels like they've done really well in writing Daryl. Like, he is really well written. But Carol in the comics, she dies in the prison, so she's been around in the show for a long, long time. I honestly feel like she probably has reached the line of where her progression can go as a character. It kind of reminded me earlier of Ray on Legends, where he obviously has so much material for him, but he just got booted off of Legends because they were like, well, we don't know what to write for you. You've got a shed load of comics, here you go. There's nothing to write for Carol. I don't know. Like, I feel like the cliff scene was kind of perfect for Carol. Where I did like that Lydia saved her and everything. But yeah, I don't know where this spin-off is going to go. It's very, very strange.
Yeah, it just felt to me as if they should have just kept it going and carrying it on, because it's just literally because in terms of the production, it's going to be exactly the same. It's going to be the same 2 lead actors. It's the same showrunner. It's just it's essentially going to carry on the story. Like, why not just make The Walking Dead season 12 or 13 or whatever? I don't get why we have to make this whole new show. Because even
they could very much just split the stories of Karen and Daryl up from the other characters in The Walking Dead. So you still got Hilltop, you've still got Oceanside, the Kingdom, but then in a couple of episodes you do just have Darren and Carol off on their own sort of thing. I feel like that could probably still work. I just,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen in each of these episodes of the spin-off. It's very strange.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going to happen with, because as we mentioned, like I don't know what the future is for Rick. Like obviously we know these movies coming in, but I don't like. I would really like to see a reunion between Rick and Daryl, and I don't know if that would happen if Daryl is off in potentially New Mexico with Carol. I don't know if that would happen. I think the problem is that obviously, like you say, with Daryl, because he's not a character in the comics, they can do basically whatever they want with him. Carol, who dies much earlier on in the comics than she does in the show. I mean, I agree. I think that she had a perfect death setup in this finale. Obviously, we knew she wasn't going to die, but it would have been a perfect death scene for her, perfect time for her to die. Even though I like Carol, like I know you've been very frustrated with Carol as a character recently, which I can totally see why. Like she was very annoying in season 10.
I feel like she's run her course a little bit.
Yeah, which is a shame. I mean, I don't necessarily agree. Like I do think Carol definitely could carry on with more stuff, but I do agree that if she would have died there, it would have made a lot of sense. And it would have been awesome because Carol she's had such an arc on the show. She's been such a transformed character to what she was. But I do feel like she does have potentially more stories to tell, especially if she is with Daryl. And I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with those two characters together. But this spin-off, like it's difficult to talk about because we don't know much about it and we don't know exactly what the story is and stuff like that. But just in terms of its concept, I don't quite understand why they're doing it, really.
I was having a thought earlier about sort of obviously with the comics and that we are in the sort of the Commonwealth coming up to that now. We do have, it's going to be a trilogy of Rick films, isn't it?
So they say, yeah.
Believe so. Like, I still feel like even with those films, I don't know what they're going to do in those films. How they're going to make them a trilogy. If it was up to me now, I would love them to possibly just scrap those films, bring Rick back for the final season, and just sort of finish it the way that the comics were going to go. Because I feel it's very strange of how next season is going to go in terms of the comics. I know they've changed a lot in past seasons. They're giving different deaths to other people. There's obviously some, I think, bits that they've left out. But yeah, like the Commonwealth section of it is so awesome, and I really want to see it how it's on the page.
Yeah.
And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so weird to see how they sort of mix them up for different characters coming back, and what storylines they might do. And there's some storylines that they can't skip, so it's going to be weird. I would just love for them just to scrap the Rick films, let him come back for the final season, and just sort of finish it how it's meant to. And then it's just, I don't know. I'm obviously going to watch this spin-off of Daryl and Carol, but I don't know if I want it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I would definitely watch it, because we love Norman, we love Melissa, and we love the characters. We definitely will watch it, but it feels so odd to me. I'm just like, why don't we just carry on the show as is? Like, I get you're trying to mark the end of the show because it's the end of the comics, and you want to carry on and do something else, but it just feels so strange given the fact that it's the exact same production, just under a different name. It's really weird. And like I say, I agree. Like, I can take or leave these Rick movies. To be honest, I would much prefer if they just brought Andrew Lincoln back for the final season and just said, because from what I can tell, they're not really having the biggest success with these Rick films. Like, they're not. I don't think that the first one's even fully written yet.
Yeah, they're not even. Yeah, I don't even. So, exactly. I don't think they're written.
I don't think they actually have an idea of what they're doing with them necessarily. And if you're trying to make a trilogy, like that's a thing. Like, that's a lot of work. I kind of just feel like, why don't we just tie in some way? Maybe you can use World Beyond to tie it in, but tie Rick back in and just bring him back for this final season. Because it's going to be weird to have this final season of The Walking Dead and not have Rick in it when he's still out there somewhere. It's weird. Especially because, we have got Virgil coming back. We have got Judith, who knows he's alive. Like, it could break at any point, and I feel like Rick could come back, and then you can get Denai Guerrero to come back. I mean, it'd be weird if Denai Guerrero came back so quickly because she has just left. But if she came back with Rick, like, it would make perfect sense. So yeah, I'm very mixed on the Rick movies. Like, I'm excited for them in a certain respect, just because I love Andrew, and I would love. I love the fact that he's going to have like his own trilogy as Rick. I think that's awesome. But
Yeah, it does sound really cool.
yeah,
but
I just don't know if it's going to work. And I'd much prefer them take, like, it's a safer option, but I'd much prefer them just to bring Rick off the show and just finish off his story there. I think it makes so much more sense.
I think, well, we all know it's just them just kind of trying to milk their cash cow, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And I don't know how much longer this sort of cow might have left. Like,
I mean, Andrew, like, the reason Andrew left The Walking Dead was because he wanted to spend more time with his family. Like, surely it would be, because if they're going to do this trilogy of movies, that's going to be like, that's going to take about 10 years to complete. If you just brought him back for the final season, that would take him, what, a year to do? And then he'd be done forever with work, and they could just move on to other things.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense to me to bring him back for this final, especially because it's ending so soon now. I'm like, why don't we just bring him back?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
given the fact there's been so little detail in the Rick movies, I kind of feel like maybe they are thinking of doing something like that, and they are trying to negotiate with Andrew to bring it back. That's what makes sense to me.
Yeah. And it just feels with this spin-off as well, like I said, with World Beyond, if it was like cancelled, it'd be such a shame for such a show in a franchise to be cancelled. That with this Daryl and Carol one, it would be a shame if that was to say only have like one season. It just didn't get sort of the ratings behind it, and then a show with like Norman and Melissa was to be cancelled would be such a bummer. And I don't want their time on The Walking Dead to end with that sort of unsuccess with that show. Yeah. So it just feels really weird. Like shows where they have a source material, it should be so easy to make. You can just follow exactly what you've got, and you can obviously make your changes, which they have done in the show. But now they're trying to, like, they've reached the end of the comic, and Robert Kirkman said when he got to the end, like, he didn't want to drag it out. Like, he could have got to, I think it finishes on 195 books or comics. And he was like, well, he wanted to get to say 300, but he would have just been dragging stuff out, or he didn't want to do that. And it feels like they're trying to drag out Walking Dead when they could just end it with the way that it was kind of intended to end. And obviously it's sad for your show to end, but if it ends in a way that you have already written, you as a fan who's like loved that media, you're just gonna be happy at the end of it. When if it does just get dragged down and down, it's just gonna
and if you have the control to end it in a way that you want to, like, it's not been cancelled, you can just end it, and you can write an ending that you want to write. It's better than it just being cancelled. And because that's the thing, we could have this Daryl and Carol series, and then it could just not take off and then get cancelled after a season, and it was just, well, we could have ended it properly, and now we just have these loose threads.
Like Carol and Daryl, the very final episode in that has a big cliffhanger, and it's so open, and then it's like, oh no, cancelled.
Exactly. It's just very, very strange. But who knows? Things could change. As I said, I think they are struggling behind the scenes with this Rick thing, and I could very much see them scrapping it, especially with the news of it ending. I could very much see it being like, okay, screw that, I'm going to bring Rick back and just have him be in the final season, make the fans happy, because that's what people would want. Like, that would be an insane reaction if Rick came back.
Exactly.
So, that's kind of how I feel about it, at least. So but I think that's just about everything. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No. We talked about like all the spin-offs, and like I think that's everything really.
That's
I don't know, did you watch Talking Dead last night?
I've not seen it yet, no. Who's on it?
They had Lauren Cohan was there. They had Daryl. The guy that plays Beta, I've forgotten his name.
Ryan Hurst.
Who else is there? They had the kid who wears the suit from World Beyond. He was on there. Yeah, it was really good. And Melissa was on there as well.
Okay, so there's quite a lot of people on there then.
Yeah, and Daryl was saying like how, Norman was just saying like how this next season is just going to be like amazing and everything. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. But I feel like, in my opinion, it should just end like The Walking Dead, like no Carol Daryl spin-off, just finish it there.
Yeah.
And then you can possibly, in the anthology series, you can just go, well, we can pick up a random episode where Daryl's back, and I don't know, Daryl goes on a road trip on his bike and with dog, and stuff like that. You could probably have episodes like that in the anthology series. It doesn't have to be a big series.
Yeah, to be fair, I could totally see them doing. Like, you could totally do whatever the story is for Rick and for Daryl and Carol, and just do that in the anthology series. You could do that just in like an episode or two. I'm pretty sure you could easily do that. Because again, I have no idea what the story is. I feel like it's just them dragging it out, where they don't need to. You could just do that in an anthology episode and it'd be fine. It's
16 episodes of them like riding to New Mexico.
I just don't really see. I just don't have any interest in it, honestly. I don't. But it's a shame. But yeah, anyway. That's, on that sour note, we will end the Walking Dead podcast here. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for this episode. If you want to see more live streams like this, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. I really enjoy doing these. I think they're really fun. And they work quite well. So I hope you guys do enjoy them.
Hang on. I've got a game. I just remembered it. I remembered my
Dan
game.
Let me just say, as context, on our other podcast, on the live podcast, Dan over here likes to do these little games that he likes to spring on us every now and then. And yeah, he's been planning one for this. So let's go ahead and do that.
I literally just remembered it now. So
I was literally seconds away from pressing like end broadcast.
So, would you rather lick Carl's weird holy eye, just like Lydia does in the comics, or lick Alpha's bald head?
I would say that Alpha's head is probably more normal, but then at the same time, like I imagine it's really dirty. I don't think they wash the Whisperers.
Yeah, I don't think she washes her head.
So I don't think any of the Whisperers wash anywhere, to be honest. So I don't know if that's really. At least I know that Carl's eye would have been like cleaned up at least.
Yeah. Or would you rather do what Negan did and have a passionate night with Alpha?
Again, the cleanliness is a problem. I guess I would maybe lick Alpha's head. I guess if I could have some soap and a bottle of water and a sick bucket just in case. That was a real that wasn't good. Yeah. So anyway, that's Crossbow Dan's fabulous game that he always likes to spring on me at the worst possible times. But anyway, are there any other ones you have? You get out of your
I'm so glad I remember.
There. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us for this
Hoss
episode.
is in the comments. Give us your answer, Hoss.
I don't think he is now, unfortunately.
No, that was the only game I could think of.
We'll put it in the chat, and he can answer it himself. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us for this episode of Discussing Dead. I hope you did enjoy it. Again, more Walking Dead content will be coming to the channel. Me and Dan probably do more episodes like this as and when we get sort of new information or new episodes as they're coming out. whether we talk about
Yeah.
What Beyond or we talk about the next sort of episodes going into season 10, season 11. I will be talking about all that. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But anyway, as always,
Yep.
I've been Deck.
And I've been Crossbow Dan.
And that has been Daryl and Negan and Dog. And we hope to see you guys again next time. And I hope to see you in my next video.